Hey, Richard, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Today's a good day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, all things considering.
Why? What's going on?
I made some bad emotional decisions doing the day trade.
Did you come out ahead in the end, or you mean the rest of the day was good?
No, I dropped by, last time I looked,
Yeah.
$5,000.
Yeah, I guess that's part of the job in that domain, just compartmentalizing the losses and trying to make them up next time
Oh yeah, this was
on
pure greed.
yeah, all
This
the
was
averages.
this was
Yeah.
just pure greed. I lost all of my I before this I was spread. I was in some of the Magnificent Seven companies, and I was fucking around with some Canadian smaller companies, but this was just like play money. Money. So the other stuff is all managed with low fees, like 0.04% or something. No,
Yeah.
point zero. No, 0.4%, not 0.4. So like lower fees, all managed, balanced. It's generating great returns. My RSPs are like almost 10% year to date. And then my TFSA, the big chunk of it is at 8%. Been kind of going up and down between 8 and 9. So, overall good growth. Well, all that growth I kind of just squandered with my fuck up, but
Hmm.
I'm not selling. I'm going to wait till it recovers.
Yeah, then you don't really lose in that sense then.
Yeah, it's a big if it recovers. That's the problem with going in with a company you don't know, but this will recover. It's just I got caught with my pants down. It's my fault. I fear of missing out. And I rode the hype train, but I didn't get off and it crashed. So the hype was from the quarterly announcement. I don't know why Buddy announced that, he had a nice surprise considering he didn't meet the target for the return. The anticipated, what was it, something EPS or something? I forget what it stands for, but basically, like, there were how much earnings per share, that's it. So they're actually like in the negative for earnings per share. So I don't know why Buddy said he had, a surprise announcement. Everything was good considering he had this. He didn't meet the bottom line. So in my mind, that's kind of fraudulent because you're creating hype to build up your stock and then you cash out as a
Oh yeah.
stockholder because
Yeah, it's kind of
people
like
are.
insider trading at that point.
And that's how I see it in my mind. Yeah, they should not be able to announce if a quarterly report's going to be good or bad. They just got to lay out the numbers, and they do it after hours because people will be emotional if the numbers aren't great and pull out, but there's
Yeah.
extended trading hours. So people were able to, during the extended trading hours, yank their fucking money out. So people who woke up in the morning were down an incredible amount of money. So
Oh well.
this is I see there's some issues here with that. And in the end I wouldn't have pulled out anyway. Like I was already too high up when it started to go down. I went right at the peak. So I was doing some day trading. I made $500 American, fucking around, buying low, selling high multiple times throughout the morning. And then it kept going up, and I wanted to buy at something was that was quite reasonable. Like the amount was, I think it was $32.30 per share, and it started to just go up, and I missed it because there was a glitch in the fucking app. Well, simple,
Everything's against you.
Simple. It's nice interest rate for when you're sitting on cash, but uh for day trading, garbage. For
Yeah,
trading
for
period,
real time, yeah.
I'm starting to think that the app's is garbage because it didn't update my actual holdings in my USD account. And so when I went to buy maximum stock, it said insufficient funds. I'm like, what? So then it didn't do the bid. And then so I missed out and then immediately climbed from 30 cents to like fucking $33.30. That's $1 gain. That's massive. And then it almost went up to fucking $34. So I'm like, oh, well, great. Bitcoin's blowing up. Now this stock's gonna fucking go through the roof. And so I let FOMO. My plan was to still day trade as it was going up. I thought I was just gonna keep or like just do like buying and selling all the way up to the top to like cash out 1,000 or something. And then it hit $34 and I got in at 33.90 and it went fucking right down. Never came back up. So at that point, basically everybody was like, yep, we're getting off the hype train.
Yeah.
But I actually think at that point too, Bitcoin, it's just the fucking timing of it. It was right around that time, and I wasn't watching the Bitcoin. That's when there was a big yank. So it was at like 85, 86K Canadian, dropped down to 81. So people thought this was going to be like a head and shoulders or something that was going to happen. And so I think that's when people were like, nope, we're getting off the hype train. And even though Bitcoin recovered after hours or started to recover after hours and recovered, it was just in time for the earnings report. So the timing was just so fucking bad that I got slammed.
Yeah.
Lost
You can always
20%.
you can always buy low and get back in.
Well, yeah, that's called doubling down. And I know that in this case this stock will recover, but I don't want to throw in any more capital
Yeah, chasing the loss or something.
because it's just Robert says don't do that. Don't chase the. I know I'll get it back and then some if I did it, but the logic says don't do it. So what I need to do is just learn this lesson, not sell, recoup, pull the capital out. I don't think it will actually go back up to $34 a share. I mean, it has gotten close to it before. I'm just gonna have to like take a little bit of a loss. I don't think it will climb back up. But anyway, if I sell now, I lose $3,000 American just on that one stock. And then I went in for like the Canadian company Hive because, well, I mean, Bitcoin's just going up. I didn't know it had a quarterly report. I don't think it did, but it's just not keeping up with Bitcoin. So I think maybe some people were like, "Oh, fucking Marathon is collapsing, so Hive is going to collapse now too because Hive is smaller. It's a
So
small company.
what does that company even do?
They're just Bitcoin miners. So in my
Oh,
mind, these are all speculative and they're tied to Bitcoin.
yeah.
So whatever Bitcoin is doing, these stocks are doing. But if Bitcoin continues to soar, people are going to buy back into these, and they're going to buy back in hard, and they're going to make all their gains because if they get in or if they buy right now at the dip, which is where I should buy, then there's a chance I could make all that money back and then some. Thing is, like, I need to make 40% in order to recoup my 20% loss. And that's why, like, common knowledge says, sell at 7% loss. So if I were to sell at 7%, if I could have sold because it was happening after hours, if I put my stop loss for that, I would have taken 7% loss. It would have plummeted to 20%, and then I could have bought back. But the thing is you don't know the future. You don't know where the bottom's going to be. You don't know if as soon as you sell, it's going to climb back up again because that's happened to me a few times with Coinbase.
Mm.
I bought at 180, dropped to 160, panic sold. Well, I put my stop losses to be about 160. So it dropped $20, activated my stop loss. And that's where I think the game is rigged because Bitcoin was actually steadily going up. I think that there's algorithms
Right.
at play here that look for stop losses.
Right.
Caused me to sell at 160 and then it climbed right back up again. And I was just like, well, fuck. Take a loss and then buy back just for that to happen again. So I fucking it wasn't actually a panic sell. It was me trying to be logical, the stop loss. But I think now the game is so rigged that the stop losses are being triggered. There was no reason for it to drop $20. That's a huge decline.
Mm.
And then guess what happened? It went from that amount to $207 a share. So if I would have just held on, if I didn't end up selling ever, I just held on to the stock and then decided to cash out on my own when I thought it was appropriate, I could be walking away with massive money. Instead, I just bled out. In total, it's not that I just lost 5K. I've lost, I was up 8K. Now I'm down from what my
Right.
net investment is. I'm down 5. So I've lost $13,000 because of this stuff. 13.
Yeah, that's like the emotional impact feels like that size, yeah. The loss feels like that, which is yeah, that's like a tough place to be. Like that, yeah, it's very easy to make bad trades if you have I keep hearing like poker players call that being like tilted. Like if something bad happens, then you get tilted and then it affects like you psychologically start playing worse because you just feel like you feel like you're going to lose, so you start playing like you're going to lose and then you do lose. And I guess it's being in like that tilted mindset. And then people say, like in chess or in poker, it's about like how fast can you get out of that mindset and just like rebalance yourself and then start playing well again. And that's really the only way you can be like, snap back and be competitive and then come out on top is like how fast can you turn yourself around from like a negative mindset to like neutral or something.
Because I don't follow and I don't look at candles, I don't pay attention enough apparently to the news, or I don't have enough knowledge in this. So all these mistakes, they're giving me new knowledge. And that is I need to be able to make timely decisions, which I can't do if I don't have access to the extended trading hours.
Mm.
And basically, I've seen many times over, uh, stocks will increase in value quickly in the beginning of the day. They'll plummet
Oh yeah.
and then they'll eventually like recover. I've seen it happen so many times. So what that tells me is be careful at the beginning of the day because people think like, oh, I'm going to do some day trading and make some quick money. And they like buy as it starts to go up and then it plummets. And then I guess they sell because they get emotional or they ride it and they hope it recovers. I'm just starting to wonder like, it's like you have to play more of a longer term game. So you buy what you think the stock is worth. You avoid fear of missing out. You avoid hopping on a hype train too late. If you hear the news, and this is the thing is I didn't hear the news about the quarterly report until closer to the end.
Oh
But
yeah.
if I heard about this fucking report being promising when it first was announced, because I watched the stock, then and I start to see it start to go up, well then I can hop on the hype train early on. But you don't know there's a hype train until it's too late a lot of the times, right? So
Yes.
it's all about having wealth is having cutting edge information. And basically I need to eyeball if I'm following crypto and I have interest in crypto, I should and I want to follow the mining speculative stocks, then I really need to watch all that shit closely. And it was already up 30% when I bought in. So I already know at that point in time, I'm playing with fire. Like I was hoping to ride that train for a little bit longer. I was hoping the earnings report, because it was promising it would continue to go up. But no, that's not what happened.
Mm.
I think there's too much risk at that point once you get to that window. I think it's you just get on the hype train, you know, you get some profit, put your stop loss in, and at like once you make 5% profit, but at that point, it doesn't keep riding forward and it starts to go up and down crazy, just walk away from it. A 5% gain in a day That's a goddamn blessing. It really is. I guess I'm so
Yeah,
greedy now because I'm eager to make back the money that I lost. I'm so eager to make it back. I want to make it back now.
right.
But the quick wins, trying to go for the quick wins has been killing me because I'm impatient.
Yeah, it's definitely the cycle that people get into. The
Hmm.
more, and then the more like you try for a quick win, you don't make it. Now you have more, and then it's just like a repetitive cycle where you almost like a gambling cycle or something.
But the funny thing is that I have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Doge, and I bought a Solana just for fun, just to watch it.
Oh yeah,
And Bitcoin, as you know, is going up. Ethereum is going up just as hard. Doge has been leading the run. Bitcoin's up like maybe 30, maximum 40%, at least Ethereum might be, but Doge is up 60 plus percent.
yeah,
So that's pretty hilarious that the community is like trying to outpace the Bitcoin run. I don't have a lot of skin in the meme coin because it's a meme coin.
yeah.
But then again, there's a strong community behind it. So I think after this, I'm gonna maybe put a little bit more into Doge
Mm.
because my $600 could have been easily $6,000 if I just
Yeah, I
had
feel
that in
like
Canadian.
what I heard about Doge was that like there's an infinite supply of Doge or something like that. And so
Hmm.
I think that means at least long term, like it can't really hold value long term, but obviously it's more of like a short term like hype site sort of thing.
Well, funds can be raised for like projects or like they do nice things in the community.
Mm.
So I might look into that a little bit more. But
It
yeah,
is interesting though that oh yeah, go ahead.
when I got into Doge, it was just $1,000 to throw away. And it went down for a little bit. It went up and it went down and went up and went down. Like, it was not gaining anything. So like I want money to constantly be growing and get compound interest, right? But I can't expect that in crypto. I can't expect it to be of like a long term. Like there has to I have to be prepared to take my gains. And I keep hearing people who were in it before, a lot of them haven't made anything in crypto. They're just waiting for the next run to see if they can get what they had back in their bags again that they've lost.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard this from
Yeah,
different people in the community, different leads. Because
right.
like right now, even though I've lost the amount that I said, because of the three cryptocurrencies that I hold going up, the crazy percentages that they are, I'm actually up 65K this year,
Wow.
which is it's insane. I'm down over what was my total? 13,000 because of my fuckery, but then I'm up 65. And that's who knows when it's gonna end. Like the hype for the Bitcoin is strong. Like it's really, really strong. But it's more than hype too.
Yeah.
There's big money being poured into it from BlackRock and these other companies. So
Yeah, and it does the crypto overall does track like the regular market too. Like just I think the market overall right now is about like 20% up from perhaps where like its baseline is or something like that. And like crypto definitely always goes up like even a little bit more, or like it just follows the trajectory of like the market overall, and then like all the coins follow each other too. But there is this event that happens every couple of years called like a market correction or like a market adjustment, where like everybody in the stock market knows that like the overall economy, like if you just look at the S&P 500, like that's up like 20% right now. And so everybody at that time is always waiting for like the next correction, which it'll just drop like 10% because the price, like everyone's like loose money and all the capital's everywhere. Uh, Sort of around the same time, people will sort of come to their terms of senses or something like that. And they'll all sort of readjust like just the baseline price of the market to be closer to reality and less hype, and that always results in like a 10 or 20% drop. uh And then so like long-term average, the market goes up, but there's always like, it always gets like 20, 30% like above where it should be. And then all of a sudden there'll be some event, like just any sort of negative news or some kind of like event will set it off. And then there'll be like a market correction. And then everybody tries to sort of time, it's basically impossible to time it. Like you just have to sort of accept that like nobody's going to be able to time it, but people try to like, pull out before the correction and then get back in at a lower price point. And that's where you
Yeah,
see like congressmen are able to time that exactly because they know like if they're going to sign like $1 trillion buyout package for the economy, they just pull out like the day before and then sign and then vote for it and then go buy back in lower or higher, like whatever. Uh, but that's what I would
yeah,
expect now is like as good as crypto will do, as good as the market will do, there's going to be like one of those events where things will readjust, drop 30%. And that would be like something to try to forecast a bit because that's like a fairly significant event. Like it just means nothing will do well all of a sudden.
yeah. And apparently people's stop losses don't always trigger either. If it plunges too hard, too steeply, my friend's
Right.
stop losses that he had did not take hold, and he lost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, if nobody's buying, I guess.
Yeah, if it's
This
plunging, if
event,
it's
yeah.
plunging too fast, yeah. If it's too
Yeah.
steep,
Or isn't there's like a feedback mechanism about those stop loss things too, because if a bunch of those things trigger, that's just like a bunch of sell orders trigger, and that drives the price down, which triggers more of them. So maybe like a lot of those automatic trades are what's fueling like the steepness and the speed of the crash because they're all triggering each other. And
yeah,
then, but I guess, that's just like what we observed. The 30% drop is in part fueled by that. And then, but then as soon as it's down, everybody starts buying once it's down and that makes it go up. So there's going to be like the dip is going to be quick, but, uh,
you would
I don't
hope
know. Yeah.
so, but it may never
Yeah.
recover if it's like a certain company and people just have lost faith in it. So I just watched Event, yeah, Eventbrite or
Oh,
something
that
just
company. Yeah.
dropped 30% because of its earnings report.
Yeah. It's weird how just very, I've never listened to an earnings report or whatever, but, it seems like minor language, even being off by like a little, like just not meeting the expected targets by a little bit, people will just pull the stock out when it's like it's like they were pretty close. Like all they did was overestimate a little bit.
Yeah, but it's all psychology, right? So they have to hit their
Yeah.
targets, otherwise that's what they run the risk of that happening.
Yeah, that's the whole
So yeah,
layoff thing right now is that like the pandemic, everybody had like skyrocket high like profits in the pandemic. And then coming out of the pandemic, the profits are still high, but they're a little bit less high. And so everybody's like getting laid off because companies are chasing like the number they once had. And investors punish them whenever they don't like always increase forever if they drop at all. It's like
yeah.
unacceptable from a shareholder. Yeah.
Well, COVID heights. I mean, we could get back there, but I mean, there's a whole bunch of other money because of the stimulus that was put in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I remember that it like dipped during COVID, but then it ended up doing like way better. Like there was always like a point where I had a bunch of cash that I was like reluctantly putting back in the market at these high prices because I thought like, and then it does turn out like it just keeps going up. Like I'm always waiting for it to go down so I can like make a large buy, but I end up just setting up like these recurring buys and then buying it at these larger price points as it continues to go up.
yeah. So I ended up getting some of the Eventbrite stocks, but I don't know where the bottom is, so it might continue to drop still. But it kind of stayed
Yeah.
at the amount that it's at right now for a little bit. And I was up by like 200 bucks, and then I dropped 500. So this was like, I'm gonna try to take advantage of this dip and see what happens. And I looked at the historicals, and the historicals show that it goes up and it goes down. It goes up, it goes down, but over a span of several months. So, there's a
Yeah.
chance I could get some money back. But then again, they say don't ever look at historicals because it doesn't guarantee future performance. So keep ignoring that wisdom.
Yeah.
So I look at the charts, but then the charts, people look at, they read candles. So why do they read candles if past performance doesn't matter? Candles matter because it demonstrates like what's going on, and there's psychology it's tied to it, statistics. And because you have so many people in the market, statistics are relevant.
Mhm.
So I look at the past and I see ups and I see downs. I do have faith as long as this company is going to hold out that it's going to increase. But all in all, I made a bad decision investing in it because I didn't do my research. I didn't do any sort of TA. I didn't look at any reports. I just went in because I thought it was gonna
Yeah.
stabilize and then increase again. But it may never increase. So that was a stupid move on my part yet again. And I know better. Before buying into a stock, before selling, I usually look at reports from different analysts to see what like the consensus is. But it seems like a lot of stocks that I was going to jump back into are overvalued right now.
Yeah, it could be.
So I was looking at Microsoft, I was looking at Apple, just overvalued. Like I wanted to hop in there, get some quick profits, but nope. It
Yeah, I
just
think there's like
dropped.
some I think there's like AI hype. And I think that like the amount that people have hyped AI is more than the payoff will be. And so eventually when people realize that like none of these magical AI products are really like making a huge difference, I feel like things will shift back
Maybe because
and
there's
the
the
code will start.
.com bubble, but you got early in on that one. You still were ahead even after the pop.
Yeah.
Was that in 2000? Yeah. So, I mean, if you get in at the top of the hype, it's just like with every hype train. You get in too late, you're gonna lose. You're gonna crash with the train. And so, luckily, with the Bitcoin, I mean, I got in at a lower amount. I believed in it. I did see news that it was going to increase, but I got in on the hype train early, really early. Now I got fucked by the ETF approval
Mm.
because people cashed out on the hype and it dropped and people bought in and then went back up. But in the end, I think like unless you're really watching the market, unless you really could read the candles, unless you're living this every single day, all day, I mean, I think it's when you make a call, you need to look at the long term. You need to look at where we're going in the future. And I do think Bitcoin is going to be the new gold. It is going to be the new gold. It's happened. BlackRock is throwing in what is billions? Like it's going to hold value because it's a system that's not hackable and it's separate from government control. Gold and silver have both been fucked by the government before, by the US government. Everybody's gold was taken from them at one point, and then the government turned
Mm.
around and fucking they took it off. They took their dollar off the gold standard. So they took everyone's gold and they paid market price, and then they increased the price. So everybody just got fucked out of the value of their gold, and they can't buy back. They just lost. They would lose if they did. And then they fucking took their dollar off the gold standard. Can you really trust the governments? No. If they can access something and take it from you, then is it really safe? No. Gold and silver, are they really safe? That might be cheaper right now. Robert Kawasaki was saying buy gold, buy silver, buy silver, buy silver. That's what I keep
Mm.
hearing. But if I own physical gold and silver, it can get stolen from me by some fucking, I don't know, punk off the street, or the
Pirate.
government can come in No government could come in and jack my shit. So I, I think digital gold is the way to go, man. I think it's going to hold value. I think it's gonna probably drop after like as the hype.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's gonna drop. Like a couple wheels are gonna come together and be like, all right, let's pull out. Let's cause a dip, and they're gonna take some profits and they're gonna buy back. They're gonna do that. You can't time that shit unless you're on the inside. They're gonna create the waves, but overall, I see this going up and up and up, and it's gonna stay relatively stable. And that means the other cryptos too have the potential of doing that. But then again, Ethereum could be shut down. All the other coins can be shut down. It's only Bitcoin that can't be shut down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's true. I think as like maybe there's other systems that have the same infrastructure as Bitcoin, but they're not as popular. So if one of them does survive, I think it would make sense to be Bitcoin since so many
And,
people are running the infrastructure for that. And so
or like all the copies of Bitcoin. You were saying before they were copying it and then just giving people free coins, right? You were saying that there was sort of like this copying thing that was going on.
yeah,
And people,
basically, yeah, like they it's kind of called like forking. Like because the blockchain itself, I don't know how many gigabytes it is in length now, but it records like the Bitcoin blockchain records all the transactions that ever happened since the origin. And when you run a node, you have to like download all of the whole chain, which is like a couple gigs, and then you're running like a server with that data on it, and you're adding the chain grows over time as more transactions are like settled. But then when you like, if you can just like anyone can just like fork that system. They can make like different rules for their own currency. They can set like the number of coins that can exist differently or how it works. But they can copy the same data, I think, which is like a way of like encouraging users to use it. And basically then so you have like it's the exact same blockchain, like they take a snapshot and then they just say like we're going to continue on from this chain with different rules and it's got a different name, and then everybody can kind of just like use that alternate system if they want and it'll have some kind of value. But basically like since the whole blockchain is the same, you can just log into it essentially, like, quote unquote log in with like your private key, which represents like a public key in the chain, which has a wallet with a certain value. And then you could, send your coins to an exchange or something, or translate like cash out to dollars or something like that. So yeah,
yeah,
one time,
I
yeah,
keep
like my
thinking
experience
about it.
was, yeah, it doesn't, I don't know how much it happens now, but at one point I had like some Bitcoin, and then this thing called Bitcoin Gold appeared, which was like a different brand of Bitcoin that someone invented. And it was worth like significantly less, but I all of a sudden in my wallet, on my exchange, I could see like I had a little bit of Bitcoin Gold. So then I like sold that, because I knew it would just go away eventually.
You knew, did it? I still see Bitcoin Gold out there.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it now. At some point, there was talk that like the creators of Bitcoin Gold had like, because like they had like forked Bitcoin, and then like they quote unquote mined like a bunch of Bitcoin Gold just themselves before they like went public, so that like when Bitcoin Gold went live, the people who created it had like a wallet already with a bunch of coins in it, and that sort of like showed at least that like there was some weird stuff going on.
Yeah, but that's
And
what the
then
founder of
yeah.
Bitcoin did. He
Yeah,
mined the first million, so or she, whoever it is. I don't know.
yeah, and that's the interesting, like that people are watching that wallet and like nothing's happened with it. And so people are theorizing that like since at least until now the creator has had no like transactions from that wallet, people are sort of assuming, they're being like optimistic and assuming that either they lost the key or they're dead or something. I don't know. And that would mean that like no one, that those coins are, maybe they're just dead. That's what they were saying actually at one point. Like if you throw away like your private key, then no one really can ever access the coins in that wallet. And so it's just like dead coins. And that theoretically that raises the value of all the other coins because now there's like some coins that can never be accessed.
Yeah. I wonder because someone's claiming to be the founder,
Mm.
and then has apparently evidence, and then
Oh,
apparently
someone is in.
some people are corresponding with the founder still. So I do wonder if like the founder did the million, mined the first million. I want to actually look at this wallet. I want to see what it looks like. No, I'm curious
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
like
there's
this
different
is
websites. Like I think there's a block inspector website. If you knew the address, you could just look at it in like a web browser.
that is so cool. Imagine being able to get access to that. Or imagine if one day like the founder is just like, okay, I'm gonna take the million Bitcoin that I have and spread it among the people,
All my children,
all my children,
meaning
and
yeah, referring to
everyone's
like the Bitcoin children on the blockchain.
and then everyone will have a slice of the pie. But I guess if they were to do that, then people wouldn't be getting that much because I think there's more than a million Bitcoin holders. Must be more at this point. Too bad I didn't get in early, man. Back when it was 6 cents a Bitcoin or something like that. Can you imagine?
It would have been like impossible to get in though because there's no like institutions that would sell it. You'd have to like I think at that time it was literally like just meeting someone like a direct person and I don't even know and then I guess running your own like client
But I knew
and like
someone who
yeah.
was mining. I knew someone that had their own rig. This was back in the CPU days, man. This guy was just
Yeah.
using the free energy from P198 or whatever. Remember that building? You
Yeah.
went to you did the ATO
Yeah, I
course.
remember that. Yeah.
So Buddy was in there and he had his own server and shit set up in there, using the power of the government building to mine the operations. It was fucking genius. Now I think about it, I would have to really believe in it as a long-term investment to hold on to it. I saw an illustration of someone who's a whale, and people see the whale and they're like, "Oh, he's fucking lucky" or whatever else, right? I should actually post this on my X account because it's important to know when people are thinking about, "Oh, I should have bought it, and if I would have known, I would have held on." But there's like broken glass, there's shit along this path that this dude took before he got to the top, the peak. The fear, uncertainty, doubts, the volatile nature of the coin, like all that shit. So Buddy gets to the top, but the feet are they're bloody. But the people below can't see the bloody feet. They can't see the journey. So I'm looking back at like, okay, if Buddy got me into this and I actually like listened to what he had to say, first thing is I wasn't curious enough to know what this guy was doing, which was fucking cool, mind you. I didn't take the time to learn. I could have. About 10% of me was like, oh, this seems interesting. Might be a fun hobby, but I never engaged. But let's say if I did engage, let's say if I mined 10,000, 100,000 Bitcoin using free electricity that I had access to on the ATO course. That was quite the chunk of time, man. That was 6 months free electricity. Could have brought that home with me too. Let's say I mined all that stuff and I sat on it and it was worthless for a while. And then it grew to $1, grew to $2. I'm like, oh, great. Now I have 100,000, I have 200,000, 300,000. Would I have held on to it? There were points where it jumped up in value and it dropped. There was a point where, knowing how I was back then, I probably not knowing anything about taxes or money. I do wonder if I would have used the Bitcoin I had to put it like to buy out my house, to buy a fancy car. Because back then I was peripheral. I was a peripheral buyer. I bought brands. I bought fancy. I bought luxury. I didn't give a shit. I didn't save my money. I had no financial education. I didn't know about assets.
Yeah.
So part of me wonders would I have kept my Bitcoin?
Or even like lost it, like lost just like on an old computer, you lose the address or whatever. People did that sometimes. Some people like sent their computers to like garbage dumps and they realized they had like the address on there. Then they like tried to find the computer.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
But like, would I have held on to it? Would I have made it through the fear, uncertainty, doubt? I mean, I had no, let's say if I mined it all, did I have really any skin in the game to begin with? This would have been like an unlimited return on investment because the energy would have cost me nothing. The rig would have cost me maybe $1,000 at the beginning, maybe two. I would have had a friend holding my hand. Like the return on investment would have been crazy. I don't know, man. I don't know if I would have held on. And that's the thing is like I daydream about sitting on 10,000 Bitcoin. I seriously daydream about it. I'm like, or even 100,000. I'm like, just imagine having that. I would not have stayed in the military. My whole life would have been different.
Well, that's what I wonder though, is that like I think in life we sort of need like a certain amount of pressure on us to like evolve us into the best version that we could become, because like all the stuff we've talked about before about like just like a zen lifestyle, like getting away from the grind, like exiting the system, like sort of doing these hikes, like these are all sort of like things we were like pushed towards originally because of like the stress of the everyday. And I feel like if we did just like sort of command like a large amount of wealth, there wouldn't be many opportunities to really like face adversity and like overcome it and then like become like a more like colorful or like seasoned person. And it would be more just like removing like any problem we ever encounter would just be solved with money. And then the people that like collect around us would also be like other sort of rich people who don't really face problems. And I don't know if like that wouldn't really lead to like greater creative expression at the end of the day. And so then
Wouldn't it
really
though?
like the
Because the
uh
military
yeah.
in my service has completely destroyed. Like I would have probably gone full tilt with the piano. I had I I lost my desire to play all the time. There was a traumatic event that happened, and I linked the piano to it. I was targeted, and I won't go into the specifics, but it still haunts me today. And I love piano, and I play from time to time, but then I don't. And I do wonder if I was free from the 9 to 5 and free from serving the military completely and fully, I would be a happier person. I already endured enough hardship in my childhood. I don't need that perspective. The only reason why I held on so long in the military is because I didn't have a support network. My mother and father were fucking nowhere to be found. They weren't able to support me, and they still
Mhm.
aren't. Like I'm reading the Wealthy Barber Returns and talks about saving for your kids' education, RESP over your retirement. And I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, my fucking parents haven't put a single goddamn penny towards my education. They haven't really paid anything for me, and they're living their selfish lives in the way that they see fit. And so I look at that and I'm like, I had no choice, man, but to endure. I was ready to leave the military after 3 months, bro. I was done. I was like, I don't like the way they're treating me. I don't like this. This is a bad deal. I knew it from the beginning, but I had no choice.
Yeah,
But
same.
if I had an exit, if I had $1 million or $2 in Bitcoin, I would have pulled out, man.
Well,
Especially
actually, I
that.
guess that sounds good. Like a an amount of money that gives you freedom, but isn't like too much money that it like pollutes you or something, you know, like say like 10,000 Bitcoin is like too much. And that would mean that like you enter like a bubble where you never really touch with reality. But if you have like enough money to just like sort of get your life in order and like rearrange things as you want to, but then you still have this underlying drive of like you have to sort of make some kind of output like creativity or whatever to earn money that you can spend like day to day, then that's the right situation. I think that's kind of what I hope for now is like just have a small amount of luck with these like stock market things, just enough to like uh solve the annoying problems and but place me somewhere where like I'm still kind of connected to reality in some way where I can feel like the value of money or something in the way that most people do.
Mm.
Because it's either extreme seems bad, like having nothing or having infinity seems
Oh
like it
man,
gets one out
I,
of
I
touch or
would
something.
I would love to have infinity, man. 500 million, no problem, no problem. I'd be a generous guy too. I'd be putting that money to work, and the profits would be going to the causes I believed in. I'd be affecting change, and I would be surrounded by people probably who want the money, but you know, it's more than that. I'm sure I'd be surrounded by people who also want to grow. And I imagine there'd be different challenges, but at the very least, like I could save my family, I think. I could at least alleviate their financial stresses. Now, it would free them up to then deal with their mental illness. I think instead of just being distracted with 9 to 5, and I don't know. I see them and they think they're a bunch of heroes working themselves and doing really great, and they're not. They're really not.
Mm.
And perhaps this is why people value productivity so much. Well, society values productivity, capitalism values it, but then people want to be considered valuable, and so they work super hard. I remember going to this conference at work, and people were talking about like how many hours they work, 12 hours a day, and all the coffee they drink to sustain themselves.
Yeah.
And they were like gloating about that. And I'm just like grabbing my fucking herbal tea and like, they have no idea that is not a way to live. I mean, I've done it because I was forced to. Uh, Sidebar. So was it Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. I got fucking lit, man. I got a nice lady that I'm hanging out with,
Mm.
and we had a nice dinner at an oyster bar. We got a bottle of wine. We dropped 2 bills at the place. Um, I mean, I covered it because I'm kind of rolling in money right now. It's nice, even though I've lost some. And then we go bowling and we get some more beers. And I'm garbage at bowling. And it's like I haven't had that much to drink in a long time. I try to go to sleep. We don't really sleep. There's some cuddles involved. Went to bed a little late. Woke up hungover for the first time and I don't know how long. And it's
Mm.
sleep deprived because my second night of like no sleep, no proper sleep, right? And I'm like, I feel like shit, low energy. And I'm like, and I had coffee. I don't usually have coffee. Like this sitting in my car. And I was sitting in my car before going to see my friend Ben. I almost canceled, and I rarely cancel on stuff these days. But I almost wanted to cancel because I was so exhausted before going. I ended up just passing out in the bathtub, and I had to drag myself out. And I get to his place, and I'm in the car, and I assess how I feel. I'm like, Jesus, this is how I used to feel all throughout my 17-year career in the military. And
Oh yeah.
it is, it is
Just
torture.
like hungover. Yeah.
I know, yeah, but hungover, sleep deprived, my whole body sore, low
Yeah, just totally
energy.
out of it. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like a borderline grumpy. I'm like, and I had no patience, no empathy in that point in time. I could tell I like my empathy meter was 0. So
Yeah.
if Ben wanted to talk to me about something super emotional, I would have just deflected.
Mm.
Like I assess myself and I'm like, God, this is how I used to be all the time. And I like this is not acceptable. So I'm at Ben's place and where I'm like, am I drinking? I actually had control. I didn't eat a lot of chips. We had lots of vegetables to eat. We ate healthy. And I was like, I'm not gonna stay here or stay late. I'm gonna go home early and go to sleep because he was tired too. I'm like, I'm gonna go to bed proper and I even set the fucking alarm. And I forgot to turn off my alarm and the alarm fucking woke me up. But and then I slept through it as it was blaring because I just wanted to go back to sleep. And I feel better today. I feel good because I'm rested. I make good food choices. I didn't work out because I'm still kind of sluggish, but I did go for a 2-hour walk.
That's good.
And all that to say is that was how I used to be. That's what people glorify. And it leads to disease. When your body is like that, and cortisol is through the roof, inflammation is through the roof, you're going to get hormonal imbalances, you're going to get disease, organs are going to shut down, probably because you reach out for high sugar foods, you're going to get diabetes, circulation's going to start getting restricted, you're going to lose your fucking feet, your hands, your legs eventually. Like it progresses, right? Depending on severity of how full tilt someone goes with it.
Yeah.
And like I see in my family how everyone is and the weight gain, it's disgusting. It's so gross and they don't know. And all the foods they're buying, I look at it, garbage. All of it in the house, absolute garbage. It's loaded with sugar, fake sugar, high fructose corn syrup. Everything you can think of is bad. They got in the house, right? They go out for they're just surviving. They're in this survival mode. And but here is the part that kind of blows my mind away. There's still love in these people. They still are providers and they still care about others. And they're still good people despite this. I know people who live like that who are in first gear and a complete narcissist. There's good people in my family. And I would love to be able to elevate them to a point where they didn't have that financial worry. But I can't do that without risking my own financial freedom. I don't have enough. I don't. And I wish I did, man. I wish I could spread the wealth. I don't know what the fuck Warren Buffett's doing with all his money besides buying more and more stocks. All that $500 million or however much he has. What good is that doing people?
Yeah. Well,
Seriously.
there is like Warren Buffett has a brother who owns like a fake police station on the border between America and Mexico, and Warren Buffett sends like a certain amount of money down there so that his like strange brother can buy like weapons and tactical gear for like him and his friends to like patrol the Mexican border like armed but as civilians, I guess.
Not
And
his
they just
fucking job.
yeah, but
Not
I mean
his
that
job.
answers the question of like what is Warren Buffett doing with some of his money in relation to like his family members, and that's what having a lot of money, I guess, does is allow you to play police on the border for no. Someone framed it as like imagine like thinking that you're defending America by preventing people from coming here and working minimum wage jobs like and you have to use deadly force to accomplish that goal and thinking that like that's saving the country in some way. uh but yeah, that just happened to I don't know if any of that is true. I just read some article somewhere. But that's now part of what I believe people do with money.
Well, I guess they have that right. I mean, in their constitution to carry a firearm, so have at her. But what are the rules of engagement? They can't just
Yeah.
go around fucking shooting illegal immigrants.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's inhumane. They don't deserve to be shot because they're trying to escape their life back in Mexico, which is likely, them being hunted down by the cartel or whatever. I don't know. They shouldn't be taking on the roles of the police, but they can carry arms. But yeah, what are the rules of engagement? I don't know if it's true or not, and I don't know. I think the borders do need to be patrolled, but there's still tons of drugs making it into the U.S. So
Yeah.
obviously they need to be putting more resources at the border and along the water on the coasts. But whatever. I mean, war on drugs and illegal immigration, I guess, is I don't know why everybody wants to go to the States. Oh, I guess the housing is a third
Yeah.
cheaper than it is in Canada. Their dollar's stronger.
Yeah, it is weird how just like regions of like geographical regions like stabilize in some way. Like even just different cities, like in this different parts of a city, different cities, different countries, like they all have like different values of stuff and different like foods and different like crime rates. And it's just weird how it could be so different when things are just like it's kind of like invisible lines that we've drawn that create these like boundaries for crime or something.
Mhm. Yeah, all the states in my mind are different cultures, just like in Canada, our provinces all have different cultures. The Quebecers are very different
Yeah.
than probably the rest of the fucking planet. But like it's just the West Coast mentality is different than the East Coast. East Coasters seem to be more friendly, but then there's
Yeah.
also like they ostracize others. They have like
Mm.
this sort of pride of being originals or something because they're able to handle the hardship of their land. At least I heard that's how it is in PEI. But then people tell me PEIers are our islanders there are super hospitable and great. I don't
Yeah.
know. I tend to get the East Coasters are nice, West Coasters are smug, Albertans are sort of like Texans. I don't even know anything about Saskatchewans are like in the Saskatchewan. I don't know what the fuck they're called. Just Saskatchewan people are like in the dark age because their area is so behind the times. Manitoba, who fucking knows?
Dark.
And
Yeah, no clue.
Ontario, yeah, Ontario is I don't know. Seems to be like the hub where everybody wants to go to. Excuse me. Ottawa, I don't know.
Yeah.
Ottawa's kind of weird.
Too
My
many
mind,
like like gray rectangular buildings from like the lowest bidder that make for like a very boring feeling city.
which one?
Like I guess Ottawa. That was my impression of Ottawa is like most buildings are not like architecturally interesting. They're just like gray cement buildings with like a sign out front that's like this is this department and then you just never get
Uh,
to interact like with it.
there's a lot of business buildings. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
the canal's nice. I like that. That's a nice feature of the city.
Yeah.
And anything near the canal is pretty expensive. I mean, it's far above what any Canadian on average makes, like far, far above. Like it's not affordable for people. So unless you're
Yeah.
living on the outside the city, good fucking luck. And I know these areas, that's where I'm at because I bought the peak of COVID. If I bought before COVID, I could have bought, Westboro or somewhere nice. Or, but I know I bought peak COVID and I got myself a fucking cookie cutter condo at the end of the
Right.
suburbs. So, yeah, it could be worse, but, this is where people who make six figures go. I make 130,000 a year and this place is just affordable.
Right.
I do my other property, but that's if I take
If the train
10,000,
gets there, if the O train gets there, maybe it goes up in value.
maybe. Yeah, I'd be sold long before then, though. Yeah, I'm right by transit, like a bus terminal. You think that would add value? You think that'd be good, but I don't know. The
Yeah.
the bus systems here are like the infrastructure or whatever. It's not great. The buses aren't great. They
Yeah.
don't make any sense. That's what I
Yeah,
hear from
something about
people.
buses. Like you'd think that a bus system would be similar to like a train line or something, but something about having like physical metal on the ground that like it has to follow makes it so much more predictable than like buses just seem to be like kind of unreliable and a bit strange and just like I guess they share the road and stuff a little bit, so that kind of makes it
Mhm.
annoying.
Just you figure for the city capital. city's capital, the capital of the nation, rather, nation's capital.
Yeah.
There we go. That the infrastructure here would be better, but they are
Yeah.
behind. So
You'd
I
think
don't
it
know what's
would be
going on.
like a role model, like whatever they want Canada to be, the capital
It'd be
should become that first, as like a template model that they can,
yes.
yeah, and then just roll it out.
That's how I
Yeah.
see it too. But what I see
Yeah, it's weird.
is super unaffordable housing. I guess it is the model for the rest of Canada. Overpriced near the water. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
On the
The
outskirts is cheap.
model, yeah, I mean, everyone making the decisions probably owns a house, so they
Yeah,
don't see it as an issue if it goes up.
yeah. Exactly. Best time to buy real estate 20 years ago, I guess. 2008. No, so buy it after the crash, not 20 years ago. It's 14. God, I can't do math right now. Yeah, anyway, I'm getting a little bit pooped, man. It was a good chat.
Yeah, good chat.
I'll let you know if my stocks ever bounce back. They might not,
Yeah.
though, but
Yeah, we'll
super
get an
important
update next
lesson.
week. Yeah.
All right, I'll catch you later.
Yeah, I'll see you later.
Bye, dude.